Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And something that we are going to discuss is a very important topic, and I believe that we are going to benefit from that topic. It's a very emotional topic anyway, so we are expecting more people to join us much more later. And for those that know me, I like to start exactly the time, 7 o'clock. So um, I believe that more people are going to join us later on. So we are discussing an emotional topic today, and I believe that you are going to benefit a lot. So I'm going to share my screen now. So I'm so happy to be your facilitator this evening. And last month we had a swell time, educative time, and we talked about preventing child sexual abuse. And this month again, because it's a monthly program, not under my watch, it's just educating families about safety, protection, protecting our children from any form of abuse. So today we are looking at a very emotional topic. And I will tell you why I had to pick this topic. So, and each time I talk about this, I get to receive all sorts of messages from people, especially adults, talking about their experiences in their childhood years. So, just to give a caveat, I'm sure maybe people on this call, maybe this topic could bring a kind of memories to you. So please just keep calm, and maybe it's something that you have forgotten and you have locked it up in your subconscious mind. And when you are listening to this particular topic, it brings back memories. So just calm down and just follow us through. And I believe that in the process of listening, you'll find time for healing, because I found out that a lot of adults have been through this experience and they have actually, locked it up in their subconscious mind, or feeling that, oh, I've forgotten about it. But when they hear things like this, it brings back memories, maybe in their childhood years. Maybe they come from polygamous homes where sibling sexual abuse has taken place. It's a very difficult topic. Like I put in the flyer, some of the deepest ones are inflicted by the ones we call family. So this one is all about family, because we are talking about siblings. They are people of the same father, the same mother, or the same family, coming from, it could be extended family, cousins, nephews, aunties, uncles. That's what I'm talking about this evening. So we go straight to the point. All right, so my name remains Christiana Akindole, and I'm the founder of Christiana Faith Foundation. I run an NGO. I also run an outfit of the NGO that does training, family safety consult. I work in the HR space and admin space. I am a mental health therapist. I'm a professional counselor. I'm a family safety advocate, and I also coach women. So I'm a woman of many parts, and God has given me that grace, and I'm doing it gracefully. So I'm excited to be a facilitator in this important topic. So today we are looking at unspoken family secrets, and the topic is preventing sibling sexual abuse in families. For those who know me, I do more of prevention. I will educate people. I do more psychoeducation. Back then when I was doing physical, I usually do crisis response. That when it has happened, that's when we move around, get to the police station, get the abuser arrested, take the victim to the hospital. All those things were just wearing me out. And I said to myself, why don't we prevent it from happening? I have a friend who is a lawyer. She was telling me one day, say, Christiana, why don't you do more of prevention, educate people so that this thing will reduce? It will not, we can reduce it to a minimal level, because the more people you educate, about this, the more children you are saving. And since then, for over 15 years now, I've been doing this, educating parents, writing materials, developing materials that will educate parents on anything that has to do with child safety, family safety, and it's been a very good journey. And in the process of doing that, I've learned that, also helping people that are victims of abuse, is another angle that, God has been using me for. I get to counsel victims of sexual abuse, children that are doing pornography and they cannot, they need help, they need therapy. So I had to go learn how to do it and get certificated for that. And I help a lot of children, because parents, they've tried their best. No matter how much you parent, one way or the other, children will veer off, the normal way. They will veer off. And in the process of doing that, we can help them to get back on their feet. So I do that, counsel children, and we also go to schools, educate parents in schools, maybe in we train teachers, we go to schools and educate parents, and even in churches, maybe during women conferences, women programs, you can call us to come take a session. It could be online or physical also, and maybe general church programs. So you can invite us. You can reach out to our admin who can, book an appointment so that you can invite us. We can come speak in the church and in the school. So we are open to that because I am all for prevention. Prevention, they say, is better than cure, and that is what we are doing this evening. So I'm going to start with this, and this is one of the things that led me to this story and to this particular topic. It's a real life story. I can tell you very well, it's a real life story. It's a true life story. Now, I remember there was a time we're having a teenagers program. A church was having a teenagers program, and we were invited. My team and I were invited to come speak to the teenagers and all that. So after speaking with the teenagers, so one young lady walked up to me. I think she was about 18 years old. So she walked up to me and she said she wanted to see me. So I just went to the counseling room and we sat together and I saw tears in her eyes and she was telling me things. I was like, wow. I looked at her, I said, wow. So this kind of thing is actually taking place in families, and all I was doing was talking about sexual abuse generally. But this one was another angle to it, sibling sexual abuse. And she told me, she said when she was 5 years old, she has an elder brother. I think there was this age gap. The elder brother was about 19 and she was just five. So the brother comes, already in the university, comes home, and of course the parents are just nonchalant about it. They are just two, the elder brother and the girl at 5 years old. So you can imagine the age gap, and the parents, feel that, oh, brother and sister, nothing can happen. So she just said one day the brother just called her up into the room, and they had this TV in the room, and we put on pornographic videos, and she was watching. And being a child, she was not taught that that was wrong, and she started watching. And I think the brother was actually grooming her. We've talked about this. We talked about that last month, about grooming, how abusers groom children for abuse. So the brother was actually grooming her for abuse by showing her those videos. So she was watching the videos, and the brother was like, "Oh, it's just a film. Just watch film. Come and watch film." So of course, the girl was just watching, innocent girl, and um, on and on it continued. The brother would go back to the campus, come on holiday again, was actually grooming her gradually. And before you know it, the brother started touching her and say, "Oh, what we are seeing on TV, why don't we practice it? It's nothing bad in that. I'm your brother. You are my sister. I love you." And one thing she said to me that I will never forget, and this was about almost 12 years ago. She said, he said he was doing to me what a brother that loves his sister will do. You can imagine that emotional blackmail. He said, I love you. You are my sister. I am doing to you what brothers that love their sister will do. So that statement not got her. That was normal. My brother loves me. He's just showing me love. And this thing continued on and on until the brother started having sex with her. You can imagine how many years this thing was on, and the parents never knew about it. And guess what she told me? She said the parents are dead, and the parents died without knowing that there was a kind of relationship between him and the daughter and all they knew was that they were very close, and they were happy that, oh, brother sister close. Oh, that kind of thing. When your children are very close, you're like, should be their brother and sister. So the parents never really minded, and she would go sleep in the brother's room. So this thing went on and on. And that particular day I met her, she was telling me something that she couldn't control her libido anymore. That she could not control her libido. That she was always looking forward to having, a relationship with men. Any man, she will just have relationship with them. She's always interested in men. And at the point she got pregnant. So I'm just telling this story that you can see the effects, the long-term effects of sibling sexual abuse. So some wounds don't bleed outside, they bleed in silence. They bleed in silence, and this is one of them. It's a wound in the heart when siblings abuse each other. I met a woman. I think she was 40 at that time, and she was telling me she's married, and she was telling me that she doesn't have feelings for sex, that she doesn't like having sex with her husband, and that number two, that she doesn't go for their family meetings. She doesn't go for their family meetings. I'm like, why? She said because when she was young, her elder brother raped her and abused her for years, and it continued for years. And now she's grown. The elder brother already is married with children. He has even forgotten what happened, but she didn't forget what happened. The effect, the long time, she started having the impact of the long term effect was so serious on her that she doesn't even go for family meetings, and people are wondering why she doesn't even talk to the brother, and people don't even know, the family don't even know what is going on, what's happened to her in her childhood years. So she studied. So you can say that some wounds don't bleed outside, they bleed in silence. So she's bleeding in silence. She had to open up to me, and we had to do some talk and therapy for her so that she can get out of that situation. So we are going to look at understanding sibling sexual abuse. So sibling sexual abuse is any sexual behavior between siblings. And when we're talking about siblings, we are talking about people of the same blood relatives. We are talking about brother and sister, uncles, aunties, nephews. We are talking about people that distant relatives, anyone that is related by blood, that's related by blood can be a victim of sibling sexual abuse. So any sexual activity, I'm going to describe the sexual abuse activity in the next slide. Any sexual abuse activity between siblings, people of the same blood, any sexual activity that happens between them is called sibling sexual abuse. And that activity could be forced. And because it could be forced, it could be manipulated, it could be pressured. Because especially when it comes to little children and maybe a teenager or a preteen, they could manipulate the person, use emotional blackmail, like the story I just related a few minutes ago. It was manipulation, it was a kind of pressure, and it could be driven by power imbalance. You look at the 19-year-old man, I will call him a man, and the little girl. So there is this power imbalance because of the age difference. So the guy exerted power on the younger girl, and the girl is very innocent. She didn't know that it was also actually wrong. So one important truth you need to know is that sibling sexual abuse is also called incest. Incest. That is when there is any sexual activity between siblings. So it's called incest, blood relatives. Then it is the most underreported and underrecognized abuse. The most underreported. Most of the time, people keep quiet about this. They are silent about it because it's going to affect the family. We'll know the reason in other slide. So people don't talk. You can imagine if sexual abuse happens in the home. You can imagine will you imagine going to the police station or going to report that, oh, these two are siblings and this one abused the other. So I think it's going to be a kind of shame to the family. So that's why it's underreported and underrecognized. People don't recognize it. People take it for granted because they believe that, oh, brother and sister, they are living together, the relatives, oh, no, they can't do it now. It's like a silent culture, a silent rule that it is not something that should be done. People should know that it is wrong. It should not be done. So because there is this silent knowing, and people believe that people should know now, children should know. But hey, it doesn't work that way. It happens with fear, and secrecy or control, meaning somebody is controlling another. Look at the older man, the guy of 19-year-old, because he is older, he was able to manipulate and control that young girl of about 5. So how sibling sexual abuse happens? It happens when a sibling acts one to touch the other, fondling of private part. The activities that happen there is just like similar to sexual abuse, like we did last month. Touching or fondling each other's private part. Abusers asking victims to touch private parts, asking somebody to touch their private part, or even having natural sex. We've had situations where siblings have sex together. It's just pathetic. It sounds unbelievable, but it's something, trust me, something that happens. I have seen it. I have interacted with victims very well. I have seen parents call and crying and weeping. They've caught their younger and older sibling, or maybe a distant relative, an uncle and a child. All sorts of things that we have seen. So forcing two or more siblings to engage in sexual activities. You can see there could be a lot of maybe four or five siblings together. These days, maybe homes that are not, maybe average salaried home, you have some of them having just one room with the boys and the girls sleeping together on the same bed. So things happen, anything can happen. They could participate in any sexual activity, watching pornography, and that is one thing that is very, very popular, or something that pushes sibling sexual abuse is watching pornography, watching sibling dress up or shower. When they are dressing up, you can imagine, male and female in the same room, they are dressing, they are undressing, they sleep on the same bed. These are just ways that, encourages sibling sexual abuse. So why is it often ignored? People just say, oh, they are just children. These children, they are just little children. They are just playing now. They are just exploring. So we give excuses all the time, and cultural silence around sex. People don't talk about it because they don't want to talk about sex. They say, these children, they shouldn't be hearing about sex. So because of that, all this thing happens, and people ignore it. That, oh, why should we be talking about sex? Every day is this silence. You can't even say it amongst the children. Protection of the family image. Oh, don't talk about it. Oh, our families, we cannot destroy or maim the name of our family. We need to protect our family. So they are very much concerned about the image of the family, or even lack of awareness. We don't even know about it. Does it even exist? Does it happen? I'm sure some people, I think, it's unbelievable. Maybe people that even saw this advert, I'm like, what is she saying? What is she talking about? How can siblings be abusing each other? Trust me, this is how we often ignore it. It is existing, it is happening. There are a lot of adults that are traumatized. They've not spoken, they've not said anything about it, and it's something that is hidden in their heart, and it's something that is like an arrow in their heart, that how can I talk about it? It's something that happened years ago, but they are still going through that trauma. So people often ignore this topic. It's something that it's not easy to talk about. It takes courage, and it takes passion to talk about it. So abuse thrives where silence is protected. When there is silence in the house, when the fact that your house is quiet does not mean that it is safe. That's one thing you need to know. The fact that you are not seeing any chaos does not mean that it is safe. When there is silence, when abuse thrives where silence is protected, you know, things happen that are unlawful, sexual activities happen, everywhere is silence. Oh, don't talk about it. No, nobody should talk. Keep it as a secret. Let's just pray. Oh God, please, and you cover it up, and you feel that covering it up is going to stop it. It will not stop it. They can't count how many people that are traumatized as a result of this. So let's look at the root causes of sibling sexual abuse. This is very key for us to understand. Lack of supervision. I know parents are very busy at the time at this time, and they go to travel. Many parents travel, they go to work, especially now, if we're approaching summertime when children are left alone in the house. And for example, the elder ones are told that, oh, maybe the elder brother or sister, oh, you are the eldest, you should take care of your sister or your brother. Or you tell the younger one that, look, your elder brother is a senior, you obey him, anything he says you should do. You now transfer power to the older one. So, and in the process of doing that, there is no adult supervision. Even apart from parents, even adult supervision. They go into the room together, they do things together, things happen, and you may not be aware. So when you don't supervise their activities, you come back from work, you're not asking, you're not close to the children to ask them, how was your day? Is there anything that happened today that you didn't like? All those kind of question and observation, because observation is very key. It's very difficult to know that sibling sexual abuse is happening in a home. It's very difficult. You have to be very intentional. I'm not saying that you should suspect your children. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that you should. There are certain things you put in place which we will talk about later. But I'm looking at the root causes. When children are not properly supervised, they are allowed to be on their own. You have TV in the room. They are free to watch any movie and everything. So they are just free to do anything. And you don't supervise them. You don't tell them. You don't give them boundaries. You don't give them information, things they need to know. All those ones, you are exposing the children from unnecessary, activities, sexual activities, prior abuse, maybe circle of abuse, maybe a child. Some of us, we bring in some helps from the village, maybe a distant relative. They come in from the village, they stay with our children, they take care of our children. I cannot tell you countless stories that I've heard, or interactions I've had from children, of how they bring in a distant relative, and the relative begin to do all sorts of things, touching the child and everything. And in the process of that, children, start abusing each other. So when there is prior abuse, a child has been sexually abused, and yet that child is brought into the house, or a child was abused in school or somewhere or during sleepover. Of course, when that child comes on, he wants to practice what he has been done to him, and the person that is closest to him or her is the younger one. And of course, you start practicing it, touching each other unnecessarily. Exposure to pornography. Definitely, many children, because of the days of internet, we have the internet now, we have access. Children have unguarded access to the internet. So, and they even watch TV programs, that are not X-rated programs. And because of that, children are seeing sexual acts, and they're seeing it freely. Internet is very open now, it's everywhere, and children have access to it, and they can use your phone. Some of them already have phones, they have gadgets, and they're watching this. During the COVID-19 period, during the lockdown, it was so pathetic. In fact, our helpline was we were so busy because we were counseling children that were watching pornography. They were already masturbating. Also, during that period, we're counseling them because now all the children are home, and they were like doing going to school online, having online classes, and the parents were actually giving their children their phones, their gadgets. They had Wi-Fi in the house. I'm sure some of us, we have Wi-Fi in the house. Our children have the password. They are with their phone 24 hours. They watch TV programs. All these things exposes them to pornography. And when they start watching this thing, the children don't just watch pornography to store it and enjoy it or have pleasure. They will want to practice it. They will want to, they want to, because children are very, very curious. They want to see what is going on. They want to practice what they have seen. Then open parental sexual activities. I heard of a story of a young girl. After speaking to teenagers in the church, and we were open to counseling, and a young girl came and met me and said, please, ma, what do you do when you see daddy, when you see daddy doing this and that, daddy and mommy doing this and that? I said, can you just explain? She now explained to me, and I hope we are all adults here. I think they had opportunity to watch their parents have sex. Honestly, we are parents here, and I will tell you that this is one of the root causes of sibling sexual abuse. In fact, the girl told me that she saw her father, having sex with the house help, not once, not twice. And the father did not know that they were watching. She was watching them. You understand? So when children are having, parents are having open parental sexual activities, the children are looking at you. They are watching. There are certain sexual activities that should not be exposed to parents. So parents have to be discreet in their sexual activities. I will just sum it up like that. Environmental factors. This is very, very important. Abuse thrives where there is no, when love is not shown to the child, and they get to experience love from another person. When you don't provide the enabling environment for them to enjoy, their stay at home. There are some homes that are they are violent homes. They are always filled with physical abuse, abuse everywhere, no love is shown, no affection, no emotional connection, between the parents and the children. So, and when parents don't provide that enabling environment for their children, because of that, abuse can take place. Siblings now come together, they now come very close, and they show each other love. And when a little child sees that the elder brother or the elder sister is showing him or her love, that child is drawn to that person because there's no love. They now take shelter, and they share the same love among each other because parents don't show that they care. They are not there for the children. They don't show how much they care with the children. They don't care about the children's welfare, So and they leave their parental duties to the elder children. And because of that, of course, they can utilize their age and their power to abuse, the little ones. Then overwhelmed parents are overwhelmed. Trust me, in this time that, financial difficulties, parents have to work two jobs, they are not home, they come back late, there is so much traffic, all sorts of things. Parents are overwhelmed, they come in, they are tired, they will not have time to supervise the children. And because they are overwhelmed, they are not aware of what is going on amongst their children. They are not checking on their children, and they leave their parental duties maybe to a distant relative or a house help who doesn't even know what's her left from her right. So they depend on them to help to take care of their children. So because of that, sibling sexual abuse can happen in the home, and parents may not know about it. Lack of timely sex education. Parents shy away from educating their children about sex. Honestly, they don't educate them at time. There was one lady that told me, it was a funny story, after a parenting program. She said to me, do you know that there was one day my 9-year-old daughter met me and said, "Mommy, what is sex?" He said she just said, "Okay, I'm coming." She ran to the bathroom and locked herself up and said, "Oh my God, what did she just ask me now?" She was like, "God, what answer do I give her? What do I tell her? I don't even know what to say." All those kind of things. So she was confused at a point, like she doesn't know what to say. So when you don't, teach children, according to their age grade, there's a teaching for that, a separate teaching on sex education. According to their age grade, they will not know that there are certain boundaries that they need to keep when it comes to sex. For example, a child doesn't even know the private part. Maybe children are already talking, saying daddy, mommy, and all that. They don't know that, oh, this is my penis, this is my vagina, this is my breast. They don't even know because you are not teaching them. They have a right to know. Many parents are teaching their children using wrong names, pet names. You are putting your child in danger when you don't teach your child the right name and letting them know that there is boundaries. You don't allow anybody to touch your private part. Keep telling them that even anybody, even your brother, even your sister, I mean anybody to touch your private part. You keep telling them all these things so that they are aware. Awareness is very key. When children are not aware, of course, they can fall victim of abuse, definitely. So teaching them sex education at the right time, in the right information and age related is one of the things that parents should look at doing. So the family trap. Parents deny it when it happens, or when they see the signs, or the child takes courage and tell the mommy that, look, mommy, this is what is going on. Uncle touched me, or my elder sister or brother did this to me. It's touching me, and the parents just go into denial mood that it never happened. That was a mistake. I can't believe it, and you deny that, oh, it can never happen, it can't take place in my family. In Jesus' name, you start quoting scriptures and everything, and you close it out like that. Don't talk about it again. Don't you silence the victim. Don't let me know if I see you. Don't mention that thing again. How can you in this house? How can you mention this kind of thing? And the victim becomes scared. And the offender is excused. Oh, it's only a child. Oh, it's a child. He doesn't know anything. There's a place for curiosity. There's a space for that. That, okay, children are just being curious about it. But when it becomes a forceful thing, when the child is being coerced, is being forced, doing sexual activities that is above their age, then you begin to ask questions. People are scared. Oh, family reputation, because it becomes a priority over the truth. Oh, if they hear it, my family names will be soiled. All sorts of things. And because of that, many children have endured this abuse and they are traumatized. There was a certain story that was going around on the internet some years ago. I don't know whether it's true, but it went viral that a mother was crying that her son impregnated her daughter. It was all over the internet. I think during that COVID period, I don't know whether anybody remembers that her son impregnated her daughter. It was terrible. It was a terrible thing that happened. And I'm sure it's not just that day, it must have been happening, over the time, and the parents never actually observed it. So you are here, you're a grandfather, you're a grandmother. I think it's an information that you need to give to your daughter or to your son. They need to know about it, or you have a sister. So signs and impact. Let's look at the signs in the victim. Sudden withdrawal or fear of his sibling. When you start seeing a child starts withdrawing, keeping quiet, keeping silent, a child that is an extrovert becomes an introvert. The child doesn't talk, he be quiet. And for example, when you are going out, you want to say, oh, guys, I'm going out, I'll be back soon. Mommy, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go. Please come. Can I go with you, mommy? I don't want to stay with Shegun. Maybe Shegun is the elder brother. I don't want to stay with Shegun. He beats me all the time. Mommy, can I go with you? The child starts making some complaints, showing a sign of fear. Or you come back and the child is scared, and scared and looks, that's why observation is very key. Parents should always observe their children. Sexualized behavior beyond their age. They start, sexualizing, maybe touching. You start seeing, there was a certain uh so I was okay, let me just say the story, but it's very painful. There was a girl, she will always sit down and she will be touching her private part, playing with the private part. Even when visitors are there, the parents were always ashamed and she would just go, she would just be playing with it, playing. She will put her hand inside her pants and she will be doing it, she will be playing. The father was so embarrassed and like, what is going on? The father called me and was like, please, ma, I don't know what is happening to my daughter. This is what is going on and everything. And we as family safety advocates, we've heard a lot. We've heard a lot. And so I told him what to do, and the man started observing the house. At the end of everything, we now found out that the older son was actually molesting the daughter, and the daughter was used to it because there is pleasure. Even as adults, we know that there is pleasure in sex. Children also have pleasure. For example, you are bathing a 6-month-old baby and you want to change the baby's diaper. The baby, you try to you put powder on the private part of the baby will smile because there is pleasure. Of course, children enjoy sex too. I will just say it because of that, they will not talk. They will not talk. So this girl was always putting her hand in her private part, and it became a habit that she couldn't stop. It took a while before she could stop that habit. So it's a sexual behavior beyond her age. Bedwetting. Some they start bedwetting or having nightmares, screaming from their dreams, even having anxiety, and some become even aggressive. They become aggressive to their brother or their sister because that is the way of showing the parents that there's something wrong somewhere. Because a child will not come meet you and say, oh, my brother. Some of them do it. They when they have that courage to do it, the bold children, they do it. But the children that are introverts, you hardly find them talking about it. So because of that, they become aggressive. That is their way of saying that, look, something is happening to me. Can't you see it? Can't you hear it? I am calling your attention. So they are using that. It's not every child that is aggressive and revenging and everything that is doing something bad. It could be a sign. That child is telling you something. That child is a signal that there's something wrong somewhere. A child that is not like that, behaving like that, and suddenly start behaving, in such a way, that something is wrong somewhere. So the child can even be depressed, and maybe it can even affect the child's performance in school. It could affect their performance in school. So if you know that you're in custody of any child and you are seeing some of these signs, I think it's time for you to start taking note that there's something that must be wrong, going on in the life of that child. Signs of the offending child, the abuser, or I don't want to call the child the abuser. We call it the offending child because they are still children. Knowledge of sexual act beyond their age. They are so knowledgeable. Why? Because they are watching pornography, and in the process of watching pornography, they get to have this kind of knowledge, or they are seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing, or they have even seen parents, or they have even seen anybody having a sexual act. Once they see it, it sticks to their mind, and they keep seeing that picture all the time. So, and they start performing sexual acts above their age. Boundary violation. They don't even know boundaries at all. When they are not supposed to hug somebody or supposed to kiss, they start kissing. Oh, I can kiss you. Do mouth to mouth kissing, or they are hugging. Tightly hugging, or even touching. All those kind of sexual behaviors. They don't even know what boundaries are. They can sit on a lap. Secrecy or manipulation. Of course, the offending child, we always tell the person to keep secret, and he also will be very secretive about it, and even manipulate their victim, tricking the victim, telling the victim that, no, I love you, I'm your brother, or I'm your sister, tricking them. No, we are just watching a movie. Let's watch a movie. It's movie night. They will switch off the light and put on that particular movie, just to stimulate that particular victim, a child who doesn't know. They become aggressive, or they have this controlling behavior. They control you. Sit down there, do whatever I ask you to do. Obey me. I'm your brother, I'm your sister. They start commanding or controlling that particular child. So those are the signs in the offending child. I hope we are learning something. Okay, long-time effects of sibling sexual. We're talking about sibling sexual abuse among children of the same parents, relatives, blood relatives. That's what we are talking about. And like I said at the opening, that is a very hard topic, and people don't usually talk about it. You scarcely see people mentioning this, but it's something that happens. It's a silent epidemic that's happening in homes today. Long-time effects, shame and self-blame. The victim is ashamed of herself and is also blaming herself, that maybe I'm the one that is causing this abuse. Maybe it was when I was dressing up, I did not cover myself, or I was the one that is causing the problem. So they start blaming each other and start doubting themselves. And the second one is something that happens to a lot of young people, especially girls. Difficulty with trust and relationship. This one is a long-term effect. It could even affect marriage. In marriage, it can even affect that particular young girl, even when that girl wants to get married, or maybe when the girl is dating, or in any relationship, they don't usually trust people, and they have difficulty trusting. I met a girl, I think she also went through sibling sexual abuse, and she cannot have a relationship with the opposite sex for more than 6 months. After that, she starts suspecting the person. She doesn't trust the person. She feels betrayed, because there is betrayal. Because you believe that, oh, my brother or my sister is supposed to take good care of me and not to abuse me. So they feel betrayed. And in the process of that, any little thing they suspect that person, and they will have difficulty in trusting people and having long-lasting relationship. And this other one, sexual confusion or dysfunction, this one, I think I had that experience with a young guy some years back. He was he's an adult. He met me and said he feels as if he's a girl, that he feels like a woman. And he's a full grown-up adult. And he said he feels like a woman. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And in the process of talking with him, I found out that he was abused by the elder sister in the house. He was abused by the elder sister. And because of that, it feels like if he's a girl. And he's confused that, am I a girl or a boy? I'm a boy outside physically, but internally I feel as if I'm a girl. So you'll be like, does it really happen? Yes, it happens, and and you can imagine he bottled this up for so many years. He knows that he can't say it in the church. They will say, ah, he'll be an outcast. That's why we encourage churches to have trainings to train their teachers so that when people of this when victims, they will have somewhere, a safe place where they can open up and talk about it. You can see so many of them are going to church. They go to church, but they are going through trauma of their childhood years. And because there's no enabling environment in our churches, where people can actually speak out, they die in silence. You see some of them, they go into depression, and they just like they get used to it, and it affects their life. And that's why they are having problems in their marriage, in their relationship. Even single girls, single ladies, if you go deeply into their story, some of them have been through this situation of abuse in their life. So that's why they are struggling. They're actually struggling. Some are even struggling mentally. Their mental health is a mess up. They are struggling because they cannot phantom, or because the person that actually abused them, maybe the person has moved on. That's one thing that happens. The person has moved on, gotten married, and even forgotten what happened. But the particular victim has not moved on because the person feels betrayed. The person feels ashamed. It's an emotional thing, and I can say it's spiritual also. It's also a spiritual thing. It's something that is very deep. Actually, it's very deep. So long-term effect, it's better it doesn't happen to a child. That is why we are doing more of psycho education. Silence is not protection. Keeping silence about it, not talking about it, is not protection. If I'm quiet, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, oh, it's a topic that is very difficult to say. You can imagine. But I'm sure that speaking about it now, maybe somebody here that is here has been through it, and the person will like, oh, this is a liberation for me. So somebody can actually come out and talk about this thing, and that is where the person's healing process starts. So to know that there is justice, someone is actually educating people about it, so that it doesn't happen to other children. So silence is permission. When we keep quiet, we are not talking about it. We are giving permission for it to keep happening all over and all over again. So you can imagine how many families are here. We are over 50 here. We are going back to our homes. We are going to observe. We are going to talk to people, our friends. There's a multiplying effect when you do more of education, and you can do well. Maybe you have church programs. You can call us in. We can speak to women in your churches. We can take sections in your churches. We can come speak to your teenagers. We can come talk to your parents. In any program, even in schools, your children's school, this thing should be talked about. Because if any child is abused in your children's school, that child can at home, that person is abused at home, the child can even be an abuser. A victim can become an abuser. That is what one thing we need to know. Maybe the person is a victim at home. Maybe come to the school and also abuse other children in that school. So that is why protecting children is a collective is a collective process. It's something that everybody needs to be involved. It's everybody's business. It's my business. It's your business. It's everybody's business. Preventing sibling sexual abuse, that's what we want to look at. And that is one major thing I'm very passionate about today. Do not give older children too much responsibility, and it's very common in Africa when, oh, he's older than you, even if it's 1 year or 2 years, it's your senior brother, it's your senior sister, especially when they have the older brother. Say, don't you know that, he's a man? You need to respect him. When you grow up and you have your own husband, you have to respect him. So learn how to respect men. And when you are giving too much power, too much, not only responsibility, too much power on on the male child, saying that's the male child, the person can utilize that and start exerting pressure, taking advantage of the weakness and saying, yes, after all, daddy and mommy has given me that power. I'm the firstborn, I'm the senior of this house, so I have right to obey me anything I say. There was a case that happened too. I have so many of them. I'm just trying to remember. There was a girl that told me that, oh, the brother was abusing her, and the parents came home, and she was crying. She was actually crying, and the parents did not know why she was crying. So, why are you crying? What is wrong with you? The brother now said, I beat her because she poured water on the floor. The girl now said, no, it's a lie. It's a lie. I didn't pour any water. I said, you poured water on the floor. Not knowing that it was actually touching her and she didn't like it. So the only way she could express it was to cry. and feeling like, oh, her mother will even pull her out and pull her and say, why are you crying? What happened? But they now ask her aggressively, keep quiet there, why are you crying? And they say, you pour water on the floor. Why did you, it was so, she said she was just shocked. Because she's an adult now. So she said she laughed over it, that look at what happened when she was a child. Spend quality time with your children. This one, I cannot overflog it. Spending quality time with the children is very, very important, because there the children get emotional support. And when you are close to the children, they open up and tell you, because children, when you are not open to them and you are not close to them, there are certain things that will be going on in their lives that they will not open up to you. The closer you are, the more things you hear, asking them, showing that you care through action. These days that parents are so busy, we are always on our phones, we are chatting something, we are doing one thing or the other, doing transaction, you're working on the laptop, so many pressure from work and everything. We are now allowing social media to take charge of our children's life, and in the process of that, many of them go watch pornography, and when they are watching pornography, they play games, and some games are sexual in nature. Children are just exposed. They are in another world today, and because of that, they will not even, they are not, the parents are not close to them anymore. For example, a child is crying, what parents do now, just give the child a phone and say, oh yeah, take. They will now open this thing, take, go and watch, go and be watching, and don't disturb mommy. Mommy wants to sleep. Before you know it, you are opening phone for your child, and the phone becomes a nanny to the child, and the child now gets used to getting consolation from the phone, getting consolation from cartoon, getting consolation from TV programs, instead of us to spend quality time with their children. Sometimes you may say, oh, switch off the TV. Maybe you are eating on the dining, no phone on the dining, no watching of TV for today. Let's take a break. Let's have a family, sit down together. Those are the memories that children will keep, in years to come. For me, those are the memories I remember when I was a child. I remember memories of how my father would bring us together, take us out, go to the zoo. Those are the memories I remember all the time. So spend quality time with your children. No matter how busy you are, it is very important to intentionally, parents how to parent intentional. It's intentional parenting. That is what we need at this time. Talk to them about their sexuality. This is very key. It's very important. Let him know that there is boundaries in the house. That look, nobody has the right to touch your private part. Nobody has the right to ask them to touch their private part. Don't watch pornography. Teaching them all those nitty gritty of child safety. That is why we have materials that we have produced. We have made it so easy for parents. We have the posters, which I will introduce later on. It helps you to have a conversation with your child. Parents don't know how to have that conversation, but we have materials that will help you have conversation with your child, making it easier for you to have talks with your child. Keep an eye on what entertains your child. I've talked about it. What is entertaining your child? What is entertaining your child today? Is it the TV? Is it Netflix? Is it all these programs that our children are watching? Is that what is entertaining them? We have to watch out. What is entertaining your child? What is your child watching all the time? Are you scrutinizing what your child is watching? Like I said, pornography is one of the gateway to sibling sexual abuse. When they watch all these things, it registers in their mind, and they want to practice it because they are children. They are curious about it. They want to understand. They want to know. They want to test it and see, practice it. What they have seen. Then avoid non-sexist behaviors. Non-sexist behavior. I will explain that. For example, you are talking about a male child. Oh, your brother, you respect your brother, he's the man of the house. Men don't go to the kitchen, boys don't go to the kitchen. It's girls that should be in the kitchen. And you are now trying to tell the girl child that your place is in the kitchen. These are the activities the boys should not do. The boys have to be playing football. They don't need to go to the kitchen. They don't wash plates. When you are not having that, within the family, the girl child feels, inferior to the boy child. Our parents made that mistake years ago, and I don't think we should continue that mistake, saying that, oh, the boy child. That's why many of our men We're having issues with them. Many men cannot even cook ordinary indomie. They cannot even cook ordinary indomie. Many of us made mistakes. The boy child, oh, go and play football. Oh, go and play. Girl child, you pull the girl child into the kitchen. Don't you know that you cannot be sitting and watching TV? Comes into the kitchen, and the boy child is there enjoying himself. So many parents have made that mistake, and I don't think we should continue that. Ensuring that, look, it's equal opportunity for both the girl and the boy. Respect for the individual, respecting each other, not degrading the girl and say you are the girl. You are supposed to be in the house and the boy goes around to play. They are supposed to be equal opportunity. So if we are doing that, let's avoid such behavior. Set family ground rules. This is very key in our home. Let there be ground rules. There's a poster that we introduce. That poster tells people the boundaries in the house. You can put it in your children's room. You can put it, in anywhere, in the study or anywhere where people can see it. That there are family ground rules that, look, we don't touch each other's private part in this house, and nobody should touch our private part. We don't watch pornography. We don't do sexual activities here. Knowing those ground rules is very, very key, so that when anybody violate that rule, anybody has a right to talk. You have the right to talk. If anybody touches you or does this to you, you need to describe it to the children. Nobody has a right to touch your private part. It's called private. Nobody touches it. And when you tell children all that, and you make sure the children are vocal, they are empowered. We empower children with all these things. But when we don't tell them, and they don't know about it, they are not aware of it, they wouldn't know. So when anybody does it to them, they believe that there's nothing wrong with that. They would think that is the right thing. What parents must do, if eventually you discover it happens in your house, acknowledge it, don't deny it. Many parents, they live in a world of denial. Oh, let's just pretend it didn't happen. I've had parents say it. Oh, let's pretend it didn't happen. Oh, it didn't happen. And when they say that, oh yeah, go, everybody go back to your room. Okay, nothing happened. Let's pray together. You hold their hands. Oh God, we bind any spirit, blah blah blah, and all that. And everybody goes inside the house, and that's it. It's something that is a bomb that is waiting to explode. When you do that, separate the children immediately. Don't let them sleep in the same room anymore. A situation whereby you're having boys and girls sleeping in the same room, I think we should just adjust that one. Whatever you need to do, make sure that you avoid as much as possible boys and girls staying in the same room. Seek professional help immediately. And that is one mistake people make. They will believe that, oh, we take the child to pastor, pastor will pray, lay hands, so yeah, deliverance, everything. When you are not actually looking at the foundation of everything, what caused it? What mistake did we make? How did this thing happen? All right. So seek professional help, from professional help from people who are counselors, who are therapists. Let them have, sessions with both the offender and the victim, so that they get to the root of the matter. Because if you don't do that, the child becomes traumatized. And you see, some parents have come and say, oh, my child is stubborn, my child is aggressive. Suddenly it started. You don't know the root of the matter. It's a therapist that can help you to actually talk to the child, to ask, to know what is going on. And many parents don't know how to ask. They will shout on the child. What did you do? Why are you crying? Why did you do that? They start shouting. What is wrong with you? When they do that, the child freaks out and the child doesn't want to speak anymore. And you end up traumatizing the child the more. So professionals know how to do it. There are certain things that even the children cannot tell you. They can tell the professionals. I've had that issues when I counsel young children. Maybe they are going through one thing or the other, depression, and I have one-on-one talk with them. There are certain things that if the parents hear it, they will freak out. The parents will freak out, and there are certain, we have to, water it for the parents so that it doesn't cause that the parents another problem. So we know how to really water it. But sometimes it's the children that will open up to a professional, because the professional gives them the enabling environment. There is this trust they build with the professional. So parents will do well to make use of the services of professionals. Avoid labeling the child as evil. Maybe the offender. So you are evil, you are demonic, you are a witch. All those things, that's what many people call a child who's an offender. Okay, so avoid labeling that, because that child who is an offender, that child also needs help. You don't know whether that child was also abused, maybe by the house girl or by a relative. And even most times in polygamous home, oh my God, sexual abuse actually happens in many polygamous home. It happens a lot where you have a crowd of people living in the same house, siblings of different parents, but maybe one father, and abuse just is a free fall there. Create a safe environment for disclosure. Create a safe environment where the child can disclose. Create an environment of love, of empathy, because both of them are children. They are children and they also need help. So create love. Allow them to open up and talk to you about it. Don't shout at them, don't scream at them, because when you do that, the child, become afraid, and the child can go into shock and anxiety and even depression. And it can smear the relationship between the child and the parent. So I think it's time for the child to, to be shown love. But when you can't handle it, and of course, parents can't handle it most of the time, seek for professional help. In this part of the world, we always find it difficult to seek for professional help. There are a lot of people that do online counseling. I do a lot of online counseling. You don't need to do physical, but if you insist on physical, of course, you can go to counselors who can counsel, you can book sessions, but definitely online also helps a lot. So seek for professional help. Don't assume that, oh, I can cancel, or I can talk to them, oh, they've reconciled. Okay, tell each other, sorry, sorry. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Or you take the child to pastor, lay hands on their deliverance and all that. It doesn't work that way. They need professional help so that that child will not grow up to be traumatized. We have a young ladies now who don't want to go into any relationship. Any relationship, they don't, 6 months, they are off, they cut it off because trauma, they are still having, going through trauma in their lives. So we have some educative materials, and especially this unspoken family secrets. All I've taught today is in a book. In fact, you have deeper. I couldn't do justice to it deeply, but if you get this book is going to do justice to it. It tells you everything about sibling sexual abuse, and I share stories, real life stories I've seen in the process of this advocacy work. They are all in that book. So you can reach out to us. It's called Unspoken Family Secrets: Preventing Sibling Sexual Abuse in Family. So it's a very, very interesting book. I think I wrote it some 2017. Can you imagine? 2017, this book was written, and it's evergreen. And it's something that every parent should have. And if you're a teacher here, I think it's something that you should have. You're a pastor, you work with children, you're a children teacher, please. It's an educative book. It's going to help you a lot to give you further information on sibling sexual abuse. Then, like I said, let's make sure we create boundaries, teach our children sex education, and this is one of our materials, 10 smart rules to help protect children from sexual abuse. For those that were in Port Harcourt that they needed these materials, the materials are available now, so we can contact Deborah. She has the material with her. We have to send it in from Lagos. So all the ones you need, they are all available with Deborah. This is for teenagers, and this one also, this is my favorite. This is one thing that creates boundary, and in the house, you use it to teach children, because parents, we have made this it easier for you to teach your children. So you just teach them, just pick, you're a children teacher, pick this poster, sit down with the children. Even your neighbor's children, they come to the house, oh, I want to teach you something. Have you heard about it? You start teaching them body safety, call it body safety. Teach them all these things, because children are not aware, so your awareness is very key. Awareness prevents abuse. Honestly, awareness prevents abuse. So it's very key to have this story. Then this one is for the children book. Also, this one is very important to have it. It teaches a lot about sexual abuse, how to protect children. It has stories, it has puzzles, pictures, it's pictorial, and very interesting and very easy to read, and it's very clear. Then this one is for parents also, that you can read this one, you learn about, especially teachers. This one is a booklet, very small booklet that you can use within 10 minutes. You are done reading it. It just gives you a summary of understanding child sexual abuse. This one is very important to cyberbullying, sexting, and it helps protect children from all this cyberbullying and sexting. So it's for teenagers, mainly for teenagers. So you can buy it for your teenage daughter or teenage son so that they know how to protect themselves online. It helps a lot. Then this one is a book for prayers for children. A lot of prayer points. You want to pray for your children. At this time, our children need prayer, especially this time where we are so busy and things are happening and we don't even know. So you can use this to pray for your children. And this is a book I wrote when I clocked 50, and it's something that you can learn, especially for the younger people who want to learn experiences of life. I shared what I experienced in my 15 years on earth. So, if you need this book, please, this is the phone number. Contact this number. Deborah is my virtual executive assistant. You can screenshot her number. You can write it down, send her a WhatsApp message for this book. You want counseling, you want to invite us for programs, you can just reach out to her. She's available and she will contact me because I can be a little bit busy. So she will respond more than me responding. So protection is more important than reputation. There are a lot of parents, they say, oh, my reputation, let's keep it as a secret. That's why I call it unspoken family secret. Let's keep it let's keep it within the family. But trust me, we as therapists or counselors, we have an oath of office. We cannot divulge information. So you can trust people to talk about it, because you are saving your children from trauma. If it happens, it's not something to be ashamed of. It happens in a lot of families and they get help. When you get help, you are doing that child a whole lot of good. You're even saving yourself from trauma. Because if the child is traumatized, the child grows up as an adult and she's traumatized, you also, it will affect you. Imagine having a grown-up adult, daughter, always changing relationships and not able to keep relationship. You as the mother or father, it will affect you that what's happening to this girl? But if you had helped her when she was young, I don't think she will be going through all this. So please and please, protection is more important than reputation. Call to action. What you refuse to confront, you permit to continue. What you refuse to confront, you permit to continue. So we are confronting sibling sexual abuse today by educating people about it. When I picked this topic, I was like, will people be able to come? Will they listen? Will they be available? I thought to myself, look, I need to confront it. And because if I don't confront it, I am permitting it to continually happen in families. So I believe that all what we have heard today, it has given us a kind of leverage, to understand what sibling sexual abuse is and to know that this is not something that should continue in families, and it could be generational if care is not taken. So healing and restoration, I want to speak to any victim. Maybe you are a victim of sibling sexual abuse, or maybe you went through it as a child. I want to tell you that it's in your past. It's something that has you have experienced and is in your past. But unfortunately, you are still experiencing it because you are still feeling the effects. Maybe it has even reminded you that look, it happened to you in childhood. Maybe you've even forgotten about it. And this message is like, oh God, I remember what happened to me. I want to tell you that look, God loves you so much. And the fact that you are alive today shows that God really loves you. That even you went through this abuse, it's now in your past. You have to look forward to the future. You can call for counseling, so that I don't bore people online. So you can call for counseling so that we can go through some therapy with you. The offending child, the child also needs help. And a child who has abused, the child even ashamed of himself, by the time you are shouting on the child, doing this and that, the child become more ashamed, and it can literally affect that child even as an adult. The child will become so timid. The child become timid and could even have anxiety, and some long-term effects, can take place in the life of that child, and even the family too. Families are affected, when there's any issue of sibling sexual abuse in the family. So there's healing for the family. Maybe the family is now divided. We've seen situations where families are divided as a result of this. I was telling you about a lady I met that was abused by her other brother. She doesn't talk to the mother. She feels that the mother, did not really care about her. In fact, the parents did not care about her, and she feels her brother, she hates her brother, she doesn't talk to her brother. So you can imagine, until now, they don't even know what is going on in the family. So these are the things that happened in family, and there's a space for healing and restoration. So I'll just take a time to pray for our children that God should expose any hidden darkness. Is there anything happening in any family here? We pray that God should expose it. Anything that the enemy has planted in the family, that maybe there's issue of sibling sexual abuse happening in the family. We pray that the Lord will begin to expose it wherever it is hidden. Whatever is going on in our families, we ask that the Holy Spirit will expose it. The Lord should help us and expose any darkness that is in our family in the mighty name of Jesus. And we pray for anyone that is going through trauma of abuse. We pray that that person is set free. We free everyone, anyone that has gone through abuse, sibling sexual abuse, or is going through it. We ask that the Lord will free them from that trauma in the name of Jesus, and we restore families and families that have been divided because of abuse. We bring restoration into that families, and we are asking that the Lord will protect our children from every danger, from every abuse, whether in the house or in the school or anywhere they find themselves. We pray that the Lord will protect them from abuse in the mighty name of Jesus. So protection is more important than reputation, like I said earlier on. So what's our call to action as parents? Start conversation at home. Start this conversation, setting boundaries in the house. Educate your children about boundaries. It's very important to do that. Let them know their boundaries. Be careful with, I don't even advocate for parents to have TVs in the children room. For me, it's something I didn't do when my children were very young. When they were young, we never had TV in the family room, in their rooms at all, because you are asleep at night, you don't know what they are watching. Children as they are, they could watch anything in your absence. Then watch and listen and act. Watch, be watchful. Like the Bible says that watch and pray. So it's good to watch, listen, and observe. Observe what is going on. You have learned about the science and everything. So that observation is very key for us as parents. So silence protects the abuser, but truth protects the child. Silence protects the abuser, but truth will also always protect the child. So we choose to protect the children from abuse. That is the end of my presentation today. That's our detail. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have another one next month by the grace of God. You can reach out to Deborah on this phone number for anything that you need from us. So thank you very much. I hope we have enjoyed the class for today, and we hope to have another one next month. By the grace of God. Thank you very much. And if you want to join our WhatsApp group, not under my watch, we usually send tips. You can click that link that Deborah is sharing to join our WhatsApp group. So see you next month by God's grace. My name is Christiana Akindole. Do have a nice week ahead of you. Thank you.